Hello once again. How times change, and not always for the better. When I was young, I remember hearing people say, always respect your elders. And the saying seems to have fallen out of fashion. Agreed that some elderly people are not worth respecting. Some old people are stupid. But the majority old people I know are actually have a little bit of common sense. Now, I mentioned this online one day. I was in a bit of not an argument, just a discussion. And I said, the problem is, I said, a lot of people that go to university lack common sense. And one guy was furious. He said to me that he called me a knuckle dragger, which is basically an ape. Well, being a builder, I've worked for these people, these so-called educated, universities educated people with a degree, and they may very well easily be able to tell you the cubic capacity of a glass of onions, but they have problems undoing the onions. They've got no practical skills whatsoever, in my humble opinion. And the problem with today, old people are not required anymore, and it's a shame. And the answer to that is that today's society is actually run by psychopaths. And as we all know, psychopaths lack any empathy. That they are unable to put any value on other people's emotions, their love, their dreams, and their desires. That is not to say that we don't matter to psychopaths. We do. But in their eyes, our only value extends to how we benefit them. They appreciate when we spend our lives working to pay our taxes into the state, which they then can raid and share amongst themselves thanks to the rigged political system. When we are no longer productive members of a society, then what value remains? That is why our elders are now portrayed as a burden to their families, their children, and to society at large. Old people represent a net liability on the owner's balance sheet, and corporations cannot have that. To be sure, this society that we think we belong to now is in its entirety a corporate enterprise, nothing more than a business. To the powers that shouldn't be, these old folk are, in the words of Henry Kissinger, nothing but useless eaters. Is that the truth? As always, we should look to the way humans have always lived for the majority of our time on Earth, until the dawn of civilization that came with our shift to farming that only happened in the last few thousand years. And if you were properly educated, then your educator would tell you always look to the ancients. For the vast majority of our existence, we didn't live in massive faceless society, but in hunter-gathering tribes. If we can get the clues to our true nature, how we were designed and how we are meant to live, then tribal life is our touchstone. What would have been the place of elders in that existence when we thrived in an intimate connection with the natural world, the seasons, the movements of the herds, and the transits of the heavens? Long before writing in libraries of universities and the internet, where do we get our knowledge from? How to survive, how to treat each other, and how to contemplate our place on this world. The elders. The elders, they may have lost their ability to wield a spear or run, but they held in their memories the tribal law, the totality of what everyone needed to know. Their stories reminded us of how to hunt, fish and trap and gather, and not to fall into the dangerous traps that they may have fallen into. They could tell us of which medical herbs and fungi could be used for healing and which ones to avoid. They were literally the font of all our knowledge. While they could not serve the tribe, their strength of their arms, they contributed to the benefit of all with the wisdom of the law, without which our tribes would have never survived. They would have disintegrated. Because we all know that young men have hot heads, and it's always older men that calms them down. So what happened? Fast forward to the year 2020, when a memo was sent out to the NHS Trust with a chilling and evil instruction. Because of the so-called virus threat, it said all geriatric patients from nursing homes could not be admitted for life-saving care that might keep them going for just a few more weeks, months, or even a year. They should be turned around and sent home. The result was that between March and June, 60,000 more people than average died in England and Wales, the majority of whom were elderly. Didn't our government throw these useless eaters under the bus? And if so, why? For numbers, for statistics, to manufacture evidence to support a fictional narrative. That is how much our older people mean to these psychopaths. Stepping back and looking at the big picture, the campaign against the elders is just one front of a wider war, which is against humanity. Human nature at its core. They are waging a war on our tribes. Because our tribes did not only provide security and shelter, sustenance and support, love and laughter, our tribes were our connection to life itself, to the natural world. Our tribes and the songs and stories that each generation carefully recalled and passed down told us who we were, where we came from, and what our place in this world was. Since the agricultural revolution and the dawn of civilization, those with enough drive and a few enough scruples and have depended on keeping the people, the ones who worked the fields and sweated in the workshops, dependent on them, on the land that they owned, the food they provided. So that meant we had to forget our ancient tribal law and accept a bastardized alternative. Look at how we discover our place in this great scheme of things today. We have no tribes. Instead, we have a society, the giant, faceless, soulless, unrecognizable, corrupt society. In a place of true natural independency, we have collectivism. I can't say that. Collectivism. The idea that needs and interest of any individual are less worthy than the needs and interest of the whole. Now, in a tribal context, that interdependency held true. When the tribe was strong, its members were strong. And when the members were strong, the tribe was strong. But collectivism only works when you know the faces around the campfire. Today, we are being groomed that the collective is now embodied by an economy where we are doomed to slave away until we are no longer of any use and become useless eaters. And while our quality of life drains away, before our eyes, and a small number of super wealthy get even richer. We are told that every one of us is an individual responsible for killing the earth. If we don't trade our cars for electric alternatives, stop burning wood to keep ourselves warm, and stop eating our ancestral local seasonal diet, we are all guilty and we should all feel ashamed. What's more, the scum of these people in charge are now telling us that thanks to waves of new invisible global threats, our only chance of survival is to accept a single worldwide civilization, which of course means a single worldwide governance, a new world order. So now, in place of our long-lost elders, look to men in white coats to tell you how to be healthy, to men in wigs to tell us how to treat others properly, to men in dresses to tell us what to believe, to a national curriculum to educate us in how to find our own individual place in the world, and to a mass media to tell us what is happening right in front of our faces. What is this disconnection from reality? Is it any wonder so many are suffering from profound existential malaise, turning to addictions and pharmaceuticals just to get through each day? Because by losing touch with our law, we have really been removed by force from the sure knowledge of where we belong and of who we truly are and what it means to be a human being. We have been wrenched from the bosom of our ancestral heritage and attached to the plastic teat of the corporation. Now you can understand why they have to go after the elders. They represent our link to our own roots, and of course they are just one of the scum's strategic targets, along with anything else that keeps us human. The family, parents, faith, even something as essentially human as sex and gender. Nothing is sacred to these scum. They are psychopaths for sure. You and I do not matter. Well, maybe just for a little bit longer, while we are still paying our taxes and the mortgages and credit card payments. They are not just coming for the old folk, they are coming for us all. That is why we must stand for our elders, because they are, in the most literal sense, us. So let's take a stand, let's sit and listen, let's bring them into our homes, our lives, our hearts. Let's respect our elders and teach our young ones why it matters so much. If you are not old now, I pray that you get to be, and I pray that once you get there, there will be those ready to sit and listen to your stories, and if necessary, to stand and fight for you.